I always find it fascinating when people tell me that I am doing pull-ups or rows or whatever exercise it is that I do for my back incorrectly. And for me, the reason I think that that is comical is because obviously my back and then my calves are usually my best muscle groups. And what's fascinating for me also is not only is more of the research coming out saying, hey, actually, the way I perform pull-ups is fantastic for lats, but the thing is, what I do on my pull-ups, I actually feel the most in my lats. And I think what people need to think about when it comes to some of these muscle groups is the mind-muscle connection and what we feel and what we know works. And people will say, well, Jason, you've tended to have a good back always. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. But it has gotten better and better and better over the years. And people have to admit that. It has gotten wider, it's gotten thicker, the longer that I've done this. But I want to make a point here when it comes to understanding anatomy versus just listening to other people say, well, this is how you should perform an exercise while putting no thought into it. They put no thought into it at all. They don't think about people's individual physiology, and they certainly aren't thinking about what's happening at the muscular level. And I get that. For many people, pull-ups are all about getting their chin up over the bar. That is how they believe you're supposed to form a pull-up. And if you're doing some sort of competition for pull-ups and they require that, then by all means. Now, in my case, I can't do that physically, particularly not with a wide grip. I can do it with a chin up. I can't do it on a pull-up. And it's not, oh, well, you need to use less weight. You guys have seen me do 22 body weight pull-ups before, and I still can't do it, so... there's that to consider, but then they're not thinking about, well, what's actually working the muscles? Okay? What's working the muscles? And I have always had a really good mind-muscle connection with my lats. My lats are one of those muscles that I'm able to engage no matter what I do. I feel my lats on the deadlift. Okay? I want to be clear. I feel the lats on the deadlift more than some of the primary movers. That they are a muscle that I'm able to very, very easily personally engage. And when we have muscles that we can activate and engage very easily, it also means that we notice nuance a little more when it comes to these movements. And one of the things that I can tell you is that when I do things like chin-ups, if I focus on trying to get my chin up over the bar when I do those, I don't feel as much lat. I personally, when I get near the top, I feel my lats almost turn off. They're just like, yeah, we're done. There's no need for us to do any more work. Let's just use the bicep. Let's use shoulders to get that last few inches. And for me, it's not really a lat exercise at that point. Okay. Whereas when I do the wide grip pull-ups, I personally experience a very large amount of lat activation. My lats almost cramp when I do this movement, right? And if you'll get people who say it's quarter reps or half reps, but it isn't. It's at like an 80 to 90% rep, honestly. Because again, I can't actually touch my chest to the bar and look at the distance I'm moving. So it's more than a half rep. And that's objectively speaking. But think about what you see here. Number one, most people on a wide grip, notice how wide I'm gripping it. Most people can't actually touch their chest to the bar on that, even with a lat pull down. Okay, without laying way back and rotating the shoulders in a weird way. But when I kind of pack my shoulders the way that I do, such that I'm not trying to rotate my shoulders up over it, and I'm purely letting my scapula spread apart and then squeeze together, notice that my scapula squeeze together at the top. Okay, there's not really any more lat to be had. The lats are done. Lats are done. But notice at the bottom, I come all the way into a hang. I come all the way into a hang for me. Now, and I say a hang for me because, again, my elbow position. You guys know my elbows don't fully lock. I have demonstrated this numerous times, even under loaded stretches. I have to do it at powerlifting meets. I have to point it out to the judges so that my benching gets passed as a true lockout, so on and so forth. So it can create a slightly different illusion for the arms, though. But if you notice the shoulder blades, notice at the bottom, my lats spread apart, my scapula come apart. All right, if our goal is to build lats, That is the action that we want. The movement of the scapula. Scapular retraction and protraction. Okay? So they come completely apart at the bottom, right? I pretty much do a scapular spread at the bottom, and then when I get to the top, they pinch together. That is what the lats do. And so here's what I'm going to say with this. If we're talking about bodybuilding purposes, not necessarily the ability to win a pull-up contest, with contest requirements for how the lift should look, and I will acknowledge that. Look, if that is your goal, then great. I do these to build muscle. Even when I was only powerlifting, I still do these exercises to build bigger lats because I know bigger lats carry over to my power lifts. I've always trained my back like a bodybuilder. Okay? And accordingly, I have a bodybuilder back. Even these days now that I am focusing on physique, I'm way ahead of the curve because of that. Years and years and years and years. Heavy rows, heavy pull-ups, heavy deadlifts. Okay? But this is what I feel. And I would suggest that it's the same for most of you. Okay? That movement of the scapula, that is the lat's job. Any other stuff that you're doing, you're involving more shoulder muscles, possibly biceps, other things to get the job done. But again, keeping in mind, most people with a wide grip pull-up cannot touch their chest. They can't do it. The majority of people can't. And when you get a bigger lats and you're doing it like with a wide grip like this, yeah, you're not going to be able to. Absolutely not going to happen. But if you start looking at the data that's been emerging on lengthened position exercises, it really is the lengthened position that builds most of the muscle. Okay? It's the lengthened position that builds most of the muscle. That stretch at the bottom, which we're getting here. So again, this is what the emerging data is starting to show in the lab, is having the most hypertrophic potential. So you have that, and then what's funnier though, I will get people who come in and criticize me for it who don't even have back development. Okay? They don't even have back development. They have tiny backs and they're over here telling other people how to train their back. Right? And people can't claim, well, you just have a great back because a bunch of gear or genetics, but I don't have other muscles that go with that. My biceps don't match. So clearly that's not the case. Clearly that's not the case. Could just be that I have a really good mind-muscle connection with my back, and I always have, and therefore I find the ways to do the movements that really hammer my lats. And in this case, I've always felt it here. I've always felt this works phenomenally well, and now there's research backing it. But you have the people who really and truly have no experience and no idea what they're talking about, who will come in and be critical of very experienced lifters with a lot of development. And they really just need to stop doing that. Okay? Need to stop doing it. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.